God bless you this afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Coming Home. Today we have a little bit different on our program. We're going to do a remote on our interview to tell our story, but I trust that you'll enjoy the program and hear the power of Jesus Christ and how he can reach you no matter where you're at in your life. And God bless you. I pray that you would enjoy the program.
God bless you. We're here kind of on a remote filming expedition with Coming Home this week. We hope you enjoy this. We're here with Brother Carlos Reyes, and we're in his shop, his place of business, what God's given him to serve him with in this little place, this little lighthouse in downtown area. We're here with Brother Carlos, and just to hear part of his story this morning. We have appreciated everyone who's been a part of these little broadcasts, and we sure appreciate the shares, the likes, the comments. If you're watching this and you think of someone who might enjoy Brother Carlos's story or be able to get a little nugget out of it, we sure appreciate those shares and likes on the social media. Brother Carlos is here. We're going to kind of ask him some questions this morning. His story, it's powerful, and we're reminded how Brother Branham talked about a friend of his, that if he just traveled with him and tell his story, there was so much power in that people would just get saved with the power of his testimony. And Brother Carlos, this morning we're going to ask you about some things that I know sometimes it's tough to talk about, but you spent some time in prison and you had some problems with drugs, and it seems like a long time ago, but we're going to ask you some questions like that this morning, and we'd sure love to hear your story. You were telling us about one time a client sat in your barber chair, and the first words out of his mouth were, I've got a son that's away and on heroin, and you were able to relate your story. Could you share some of that with us today?
Yes, a gentleman had come in on a business trip just out of nowhere, and I was the only one here. And he just sat down casually, and we began to conversate a little, and I had some Christian music playing in the background, so he realized I was a believer, and we started talking, and he began to go share a little bit about his story, and then he began to tell me that he had a son that was hooked on heroin, and he didn't know what to do about it. He was concerned for his son, so I let him finish his conversation, and then as I'm cutting his hair, I told him, well, little do you know that the man that's cutting your hair right now, the Lord delivered him from that. And I went on to tell him how the Lord delivered me, and so I went ahead and told him that I had strayed away from the Lord, and I just couldn't get it right, so I got discouraged, and I just went out, and the more I stayed out, the darker my life got, and the deeper I went into things that I didn't really want to go into. I became a full-blown heroin addict, to the point where I ended up living under a bridge in Boston, and every day get up and do what I had to do to get my fix, like they call it.
Now, you told me, Brother Carlos, that you lived under that bridge for a full year. You spent a winter?
I spent a winter and a summer and a spring in there, under there. Yeah. And I would go visit my dad once in a while, and this one day I was walking to my dad's house, and I was thinking, how am I going to get make my next move? Because I started getting sick and things like that. And then I remember saying, as I was walking to my dad's house, I was saying, Lord, just a prayer in my heart. I said, Lord, please don't leave me like this. I don't want to live like this anymore. And I let it go. So when I get to my dad's house, as I'm walking into his driveway, I was going to go in through the back, and a taxi cab pulls up in front of my dad's house, and this gentleman calls me, excuse me, sir, can I speak to you for a minute? So I turn around and I walk over to him, and when I look, he had his Bible on his lap, opened up to Psalms of David, and he says to me, I don't know why, but something told me I needed to talk to you. And so, I just paid attention to him, and he began to tell me about King David and how he was reading about him and all his failures that he had and the things he went through. And then he proceeds to say, but you know what? It says here that even through all of that, he was the apple of God's eye. And at that moment, I realized that God had heard my prayer. And I I felt the presence of God, which I hadn't felt in a long time.
Now, you were telling me, Brother Carlos, you had to spend a little stint. How long were you in prison, Brother
I
Carlos?
did 3 years. 3 years.
Not the best times of your life, I imagine.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't mentally. It wasn't.
Dark times.
Yeah.
Dark times. Now it comes to the best part of your story, in my opinion. You know, you found a home here. You've made a home here in Idaho. You've told me many testimonies about how it transpired. But give us a little bit of that story. How you found your home, Brother Carlos.
Well, then from that day, the Lord began to turn me around, and I got cleaned up and began to get into fellowship again. And then a few years later, I asked the Lord for help, and I prayed to Him, and He led me here to Idaho, not knowing what was coming, not knowing what I was waiting for, what I was going to see. But I ended up becoming a barber out here, and through a brother that lives here in Idaho, and I've owned this business for about 3, almost 4 years now. I've met my wife in barber college. I led her to the Lord, and we've been married for 10 years. Wow. She's a barber also. And I look back at times and I'm still overwhelmed because of God's grace, you know, pulling me out of where I was, how dark my life was at that time. I never thought I was going to come out of that.
Yeah. So this little shop's sort of like your mission field. You know, we've seen it and heard it, the people that have just driven out to the church because sitting in this little chair here. We appreciate, Brother Carlos, you taking the time this morning and speaking with us and being on the camera. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking for both of us here, but we love God, love God's people. We love you this morning. If you happen to know someone that would enjoy this, please let them know, or via Facebook, just invite them. We sure appreciate everything. God bless you, and take care.
I trust you enjoyed that powerful story, and no matter where you're at tonight or this evening, you have to know that Jesus Christ can find you, and if He can find someone that's strung out on heroin and homeless, and He can still speak to their heart and change their life, I believe that there's no situation that God can't find you in if you but just give Him the chance to commit your life to Him. And we're going to have Jono come and sing us a song, but I trust that you enjoyed this story, and I just challenge you, no matter what situation you find yourself in, give your life to Jesus Christ. Give Him an opportunity. Whisper that prayer that Brother Carlos whispered, and I believe that He'll hear your prayer.
The blood that Jesus shed for me way back on Calvary, the blood that gives me strength from day to day, it will never lose its power, for it reaches to the highest mountain, and it flows to the lowest valley. Oh, the blood that gives me strength from day to day, it will never lose its power. It soothes all my doubts and calms my fears, and it dries all my tears. Oh, the blood that gives me strength from day to day, it will never lose its power. and it flows to the lowest valley. Oh, the blood that gives me strength from day to day. It will never lose its power. Oh, the blood that gives me strength from day to day. It will never